Before I begin my presentation, I'd like to show you a short introduction video to get to know me. Hi, my name is Megan O'Mara. I'm an active member of the clubs and activities at my school. I'm captain of the swim team, president of the drama club, editor for the yearbook, a member of National Honor Society, a member of the Beta Club, and a representative for student government. I'm also in the top 10% of my class, and I have an immense passion for biology and anatomy. I plan on attending the University of Georgia and double majoring in theater and biology. I also plan on taking a year abroad due to my love of travel. I also plan on attending medical school after undergraduate school. For several years, I wanted to pursue a career in the medical field. After severely injuring my shoulder due to competitive swimming, I attended physical therapy for several months and fell in love with this form of medicine. This interest led me to choose physical therapy as a career in my senior project. My MTRP focuses on the controversy surrounding coaches and young athletes who push their bodies too far without properly caring for their muscles. This results in severe and often permanent damage if not treated through physical therapy. So as you've heard, I've been an athlete for many years now, and I suffered a severe injury to my rotator cuff where I went to physical therapy for several months in order to heal it. I, like most athletes, do suffer from injuries, and it's a very common problem we see in our country. So what I decided to do was take my love for swimming and my injury and use physical therapy as my career choice to help create a treatment guide for athletes who suffered the same injuries I did. So my project facilitator was Miss Leslie Shepard, and she is a close friend of mine, and she's a great physical therapist, and she helped me personally conquer my injury. And so to begin my process for beginning this treatment guide, I had to do extensive research not only on just human anatomy and physiology, but also how these specific exercises can target the area I was focused on. So I spent copious amounts of hours doing research in textbooks, as you can see here, also online, and I wanted to create a guide that was not only visually appealing, but also very educational. And the problem I ran into with that was making it interesting. So what I decided to do was make it more of a textbook style format, where as you can see here, I have introductions, I have explanations, and I also have just diagrams as well as corresponding text. Okay, so the next step, after I had done my research, I had to begin to plan which exercises I wanted to do and how I wanted to explain it. So what I did to do that, I shadowed my project facilitator for several weeks. And I would work with her and patients, and I would also teach the patients the exercises and monitor them. But for privacy reasons, I was not allowed to take pictures with them, but I can take pictures of myself demonstrating these activities. So as you can see here, those are pictures I also used in my guide of me performing these exercises. And most of them required little tools besides, a simple rubber band, most of them weights, things you can use around your house. And that's what I wanted to focus on, is that this treatment guide can be used for the everyday person. Alright, and so when I began forming my treatment guide, I used a software called Shutterfly. And this was in order to create the book in this exact format that I would like. And so something I learned along the way for this was that I have a very good knack for creating layouts. And with my experience in yearbook, it allowed me to have ease with creating the appeal, to create the visual appeal that I wanted in my product. So getting into the actual product, I first began with an introduction which shows all my research on the rotator cuffs and injuries. It just starts from what a rotator cuff is to what the injury is, into who is most at risk, and pretty much everyone seems to be at most at risk for any injury as you age and as you use your body constantly. Also, I said how they can be treated in the general sense before I got into my exercises, as well as when patients should increase reps and add weights. And this is something that I did not know before I started, but there's something called the resistance pyramid, which was what I learned from my project facilitator, and it lays out when and where you should add weights or reps, or how many you should do based on your personal level in your injury. So when I first had my injury, I started out with the stabilization section, which meant that my shoulder was very fragile and I could not add huge weights, but I could do enough reps to begin to build that base. And from there you build strength with more reps and weights, and then you go to power, which is when you see bodybuilders and people who have immense muscles, they have to have a strong foundation in order to build those muscles. So now on to the exercises. The problem I ran into here was that I had simply too many exercises to choose from. I focused heavily on researching and finding which exercises did not repeat the similar techniques that were already used, and which ones really did target the different areas I wanted to focus on around the rotator cuff. So several ones that I favor is one called a YTI, where you simply lay on the ground and you raise your arms in a YTI formation. And while this seems really silly and seems very easy to do, it does strengthen the rotator cuff and your back muscles as well, which is something I learned, that when you want to treat a specific area, you have to treat the areas around it to build a stronger foundation, like your core, which is your abs, and your back, and your legs, and your neck. These all help take the stress off of your injury and help you heal faster. I also did something called an overhead deltoid press, which can be used with weights and can also be used standalone, where you simply raise your hands above your heads. And what I learned here from my project facilitator is that you must keep a strong base formation when you stand. And that means that you have to have your legs evenly spread apart, shoulder width, and that your core must be tucked in order to prevent injury here, which she has seen lots of patients, and I also saw patients doing this incorrectly and further hurting their bodies. The next exercises I found were cable bent rows and rear deltoid presses, which are very simple and very similar exercises. And these consist of simply rowing your arms back and bringing them up to build foundation in your back to help strengthen your shoulder. The next one I found was called a modified reach, which is similar to an exercise called Supermans, which are commonly used in athletics, but you simply lay on the ground and raise your arms and legs to help build the strong foundation in between your shoulders. The next two I found were abduction and adductions, and this targets strictly on the rotator cuff. And what this does is help builds the muscle, because what a lot of injuries suffer from is a loose tissue. And for me, I simply dislocated my shoulder due to the lack of strength there. So this helps build the strength around the rotator cuff in your arm. And I also did a conclusion. With this, I wanted to also include other ways to help heal your body. And this can include just proper water intake, lifestyle changes, diet, things that sound like we all know what to do, but are very complex when you break it down. And this also helps speed up the treatment process, as well as improving your overall health, which is what everyone wants to seem to do. And then I would also like to show you my finished product with my project facilitator. This is Miss Leslie Shepard, and she helped me a ton, and this really was a learning stretch for me, because while I had been a patient with her before, I really didn't know all the aspects that went into treating my shoulder, and then I was very curious. I'm very interested in the medical field, and I saw this as a very great way to begin my kind of career path. And while I really do love physical therapy, I think that my path in college is going to be more dermatology based. Thank you. Are there any more questions?